live now.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Everson. Good afternoon, commissioners. Good afternoon, staff. We'll call this Caddo Parish Commission regular meeting agenda virtual to order. It is December the 3rd. I got 3:31 p.m. Mr. Everson, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Jackson. I see you, but I didn't hear you. Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young.
Present.
Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Cawthorn.
Present.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Present.
Commissioner Tyler Farrow.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez.
Here.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Here.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Here.
Okay, I'm counting 10 present, I'm sorry, 9 present and 3 absent, but I see a couple logging on right now, so that may change quickly.
Cool. Okay.
But that is a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Everson. Greetings, everybody. Please silence your cell phones and turn on your Wi-Fi for better connectivity. We'll have our invocation led by Vice President Johnson, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Young.
You ready for the invocation?
Yes.
Okay. Let us all pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today thanking you for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Father, we ask for peace, not only within our city, within our parish, within our state, within our country. Father, we ask that you will continue to bless us as we strive day to day to try to do the best we can to serve our citizens of Caddo Parish. Father, we ask that you will also cover our military, those that are in the United States and those that are abroad, protect them as they fight for our freedom. Father, we also ask that you will place your loving and tender touch on 2 of our commissioners, that they may get through the storm that they're going through at this present time. Father, we ask all these things in your son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
All right. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please make the appropriate salute for you if you're a service member or veteran, or if you're a civilian. And repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic which stands under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, VP. Thank you, Commissioner Young. Mr. Everson, do we have any agenda additions?
I'm not aware of any agenda additions unless you're aware of any.
I haven't received any.
Okay. That means the only item under that section that we need to consider is the motion to approve consideration of items under Louisiana Revised Statutes 4217.1. And at this point, I'll remind you, this is where your certificate of teleconference is attached as well.
All right.
Epperson move.
Second. All right.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Epperson, second by Commissioner Burrell. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Jackson, I didn't hear you. Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler Farrow.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, by my count, that's 10 in support and 2 absent, and that motion does carry. And that brings us to citizens' comments, where we have received 1 electronic citizens comment, but otherwise we haven't received any. If you'd like, I'll go ahead and give that phone number out for anybody who might want to call in.
Yes, please. And then we'll read the current citizen comment.
Great. The phone number to call in, should somebody want to make a public comment, is 318-226-6596. Again, that number is 318-226-6596. And the comment that we received electronically comes from Liz Swain, who says, "Dear Commissioners, I understand that you have two stellar options for appointments to the MPC at your 12/3/20 meeting. I believe that both would be hardworking and would do the parish and citizens proud. I know and like both of these gentlemen, but I want to share why I believe Jim Malsh would be the right choice at this moment. Jim recently sold a successful Shreveport business that he nurtured from the ground up, but instead of taking his earnings and moving away, he immediately purchased a building in downtown and launched into yet another business, the Andrus Artist and Entrepreneur Center. The nearly century-old building on Crockett Street he is rehabbing will house a number of entrepreneurial and small businesses that he has nurtured and invested in. He recently purchased the Shreveport Music Company and is a longstanding member of the board of Cohab, where he generously gives of his time and money to make a difference to young and fledgling businesses. Many of the complaints that I hear about the MPC focus on the staff's lack of business background. It's hard for staffers to put themselves in the shoes of business owners if they have never run one. Jim's business background, his ongoing business ventures, and now his experience in building development make him perfectly suited to bring a very needed perspective to the MPC board. He is calm, common sense driven, and nonpartisan, three things that we need more of right now. He can assist MPC staff in threading the needle between what developers and businesses need to do to be successful and make money, and the requirements of ordinances and the Unified Development Code. I thank you for your time and ask for your support. Signed, Liz Swain, Executive Director of the Downtown Development Authority. And at this time, Michelle, I don't see any callers. Do you have any callers on the line? Okay, we don't have any callers at this moment.
Okay. Mr. Everson, we will move along then.
Okay, that brings us to our visitors section. We have no scheduled visitors today. And that brings us to adopting regular session minutes. We have a couple of sets. We have our regular session minutes from November 19th, 2020, and our special session minutes from the budget introduction meeting.
Move to adopt both sets.
All right. Got a motion by Commissioner Atkins, seconded by Commissioner Watts. I see no one on the board to speak. Mr. Everson, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Jackson, did you say something? Okay, sorry, I can't tell if he's saying something while I'm talking. Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that carries with 10 in support, and 2 absent. And that brings us to special resolutions, where we have one item to be considered. It's a special proclamation recognizing Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated, and it's a proclamation of recognition for Shreveport Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. It's co-sponsored by Commissioner Watts, Burrell, Cawthorn.
Second.
Motion to accept by Commissioner Cawthorn. I'm sorry, Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Watts, would you like to speak on that?
No.
Okay. I have Commissioner Epperson on the board to speak. Commissioner Epperson?
Yes, sir. This is the special resolution recognizing Delta Sigma Theta, correct?
Yes, that's correct,
Okay.
Commissioner.
I just wanted to convey my sincere honor and respect on behalf of this being the Shreveport Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta's 90th anniversary. The original Delta Sigma Theta organization was organized in 1913 at Howard University. Some of the accolades that they have done and the things that they've done within the Shreveport and Bossier and Caddo area, as well as Louisiana. They had the first female speaker at the Memorial Day ceremony at the Northwest Louisiana Veterans Cemetery, and none other than Lieutenant Colonel Caroline Waddles, and that was on May 31st, 2017. This alumni chapter also donated 2 60-inch barrel fans to the Northwest Louisiana Cemetery for our committal service. Is so hot up under the committal shelter in the summertime. It was almost unbearable when we had the services, the committal services at the cemetery. They donated 2 60-inch barrel fans to it. They also participated in cleanup days and made our memorial services one of the largest at the cemetery after it had been there over 10 years. They're also volunteers for the Sickle Cell Anemia Foundation. Fundraisers are always there. Voter education and registration, not only voter registration drive, but education. They hold forums. Actually, if we go back in history, in March of 1913, the Delta Sigma Theta in Washington, D.C. participated in the women's suffrage march. Whereas even though they were segregated and put at the back of the line, they marched to get for the right to get the women to vote in the United States of America, which subsequently led to the 19th Amendment being incepted. However, even though they marched and was at the tail end of the parade in D.C., it was over 50 years that Black women had the right to vote. Also, they are the first Greek organization within Caddo and Bossier area to participate in our Veteran Celebration Committee upon its inception in 2011. They not only donated, but they volunteered, and they are members of the committee and very faithful workers within that. And also, I don't know if you all have noticed it, they had 2 of those large digital billboards commemorating their 90th anniversary in Shreveport and Caddo. So just want to thank Delta Sigma Theta and have them to continue marching forward. And they are a primary example of what it is to be a community organization and reaching out and volunteering and doing things on behalf of the community. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do too want to recognize our the Sisters of Delta Sigma Theta on their 90th anniversary. We are a little older than they are, and most of the other Greek letter, Black Greek letter college organizations. We're 124 years old this year. Next year would be 125. And that is significant because these organizations, like what they call the Divine Nine, have been on the forefront of much of the political change and economic change in this nation, because these organizations are all educated men and women. That is the basis there. And they've done a tremendous job. At this time, too, I just want to send a shout out to our new Vice President-elect, Kamala Harris, who is actually AKA, another renowned and profound organization. I'm only saying that to say this, they have made a tremendous contribution, or should I say we have made a tremendous contribution. I belong to Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. So again, Mr. President, I think I would be remiss if I did not do a shout out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Thank you for the addition. I see no other commissioners on the board. Mr. Everson will take a roll call vote.
All right, Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes with 10 in support and 2 absent. And that brings us to our next item, which is going to be communiques and committee reports.
Thank you, Mr. Everson. Commissioner Epperson, you can lead us off.
10-4, Sergeant. Once again, I'd like to start off with the coronavirus totals within the United States, the state of Louisiana, and the parish of Caddo. As of 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, there were 13,993,296 cases of COVID-19 in the United States of America, 71,922 as of today at 2:30 p.m. The total deaths in the United States of America, 274,000. Somebody coughing? Oh, okay.
Somebody.
200. Bless you.
Thank you.
274,577 deaths in the United States, with 1,131 being reported as of 2:36 p.m. Eastern Time today. State of Louisiana, 241,000 cases, 3,595 added, 6,501 deaths, up 46. Caddo Parish, the fourth largest amount in the state of Louisiana, 13,926 cases, 387 reported today as of 2:30 p.m., 448 deaths, up 2 as of 2:30 p.m. today. Once again, my prayers go out to all of those who have contracted COVID-19 and hope for them a speedy recovery. My blessings will be asked on behalf of their families in the suffering and circumstance that they may be going through. May God bring them through it. Also, a special emphasis to our medical workers who are very, very much taxed throughout the United States of America. Even in the state of Louisiana, our local hospitals. We also ask blessings upon all of our healthcare workers and our doctors. Some are working 12-hour shifts, six days a week. One doctor was in his 256th day in a row working. So this is serious. We need to take it serious. And according to all the CDC, all the scientists, this is only the tip of the iceberg. It's expected to get worse this month through January and February because of the Thanksgiving holidays, the Christmas holidays, and so many people breaking the protocols. And a special emphasis to our rehabilitation and our nursing home facilities that are taking care of our aged, whom they just basically under lockdown. And those staffs are taxed too. Those people really deserve all the thanks and praise that we can give them. I don't know how many of you may have had the opportunity to have taken care of a senior person that is basically invalid, cannot bathe themselves, cannot feed themselves, do nothing. So our heart goes out to them also. Let us not forget that December the 1st of 2020 marked the 65th year that Rosa Parks took a stand in Montgomery, Alabama, to not take the back seat in a public transportation bus, so which led to segregation of some of our transportation facilities throughout the United States. So let's make sure we remember that. The Northwest Louisiana Veterans Cemetery will have the wreath placing ceremony on December the 11th at 1:00 p.m. All of those that would like to volunteer to help place the wreaths, please be out to the cemetery by 1 p.m. on the 11th. Wreath pickup will be January the 4th, 2021 at 1:00 p.m. Let us also not forget that December the 7th will mark the 79th year of the Pearl Harbor invasion by the Japanese force, which actually prompted America to enter the war. And another significance about Pearl Harbor, our first female recipient of the Purple Heart was given to Miss was earned by Lieutenant Annie G. Fox. She was the chief nurse of all the nurses at Hickman Airfield, and she was the first one to receive the Purple Heart Medal as a female under combat conditions. Also Saturday, even though there's only one item on the ballot in the parish that I know of course, well, that's what my ballot had, and maybe two within, I think you have a judicial race in the city. The race is not over. If there's one item on the ballot or 100 items, we should be as aggressive and as attentive and make sure that we exercise our right to vote, because so many people gave so much for us to be taken for granted. With that, Mr. Chairman, I thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thanks for the update on the reefs at the vet cemetery. That's always a great time. I'd love to see some more commissioners out there besides yourself and myself. I know Commissioner Talaferro will be out there. Commissioners, I don't see anyone else on the board under communiques. If you wanted to get on there and you didn't raise your hand, if you wave at me, we'll get you on the board. No, if not, Dr. Wilson, I did have a call from Pastor Hall. He's over at the Baptist Temple on Flournoy Lucas. He asked if we can send one of our public works employees, or if we can give him a call. He said he would help too, but past the Wallace Lake pump station, at the lift station, there's a gate before you're driving down there. He says somebody's been doing a lot of illegal dumping. He said it's so much illegal dumping that they can't even get through to the gate anymore. And he said he'd be willing to go over there and help anybody clean it up if we have a crew that can go clean it. And he said he'd even be willing to place a camera out there to try to catch the culprit, but he couldn't even get through because there's so much trash to put it over there. So if we could reach out to him. He also invited us if we wanted to go to a Christmas cantata this Sunday at 6 p.m. This is like a Commissioner Cawthorn word. I didn't know what a Christmas cantata was, so had to go look that up. It's a musical. Yes, a musical composition intended to be sung as opposed to sonata, which took me down a rabbit hole of definitions, but he asked us to come clean that up, and if any of us or the crew clean it up wanted to come to the Christmas cantata this Sunday night at 6 p.m., he welcomed us.
Yeah. Commissioner Chavez, could you give me his cell number or contact number, please?
I'll do it. I'll shoot it to you via email.
Okay, sir. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Wilson. All right, Mr. Everson.
All right. The next item on our agenda is the President's report. Did you have a President's report today?
I did. Wanted to update everybody to not forget about the Christmas in Roseland. It's going on now until the week before Christmas. The Rose Center is transformed into a whimsical winter wonderland from the day after Thanksgiving to, like I said, the weekend before Christmas. Tickets are $5. This is kind of cool. They have a Roseland Express, so you can go out there, take your kids. It's $5 to ride on the train ride around to see the Christmas lights. They're open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Santa's there every day until 9 p.m. While they're open. If you want, you can go on the website and look. And they have a strict policy on sanitizing the train. They ask you to wear masks when you show up, and they definitely have the social distancing with the acreage that they have. So they ask that everybody goes out there and enjoys some social distance fun. In Southern Hills today, we wanted to congratulate the Red Oak House of Barbecue. It was the ribbon cutting and the grand opening. It was really cool to see the community support. We had the mayor out there. We had Councilwoman Taylor. We had Councilman Fleury, Bowman, former Councilman Bradford. A huge amount of people came out to show their support for this new barbecue restaurant. So if you guys are out and about, it's on Kingston Road in the corner of Flournoy Lucas. We all sat down and had some barbecue, and it was incredible. So I'm thankful to see more businesses and restaurants opening up in Southern Hills. Mr. Everson, we'll move along.
Sir, Commissioner Chavez?
Yes, sir.
I have one point of privilege, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I forgot to mention last time we met, Commissioner Everson asked me to give an update on the monument movement, and Ms. Valerie Gunn is on call with us today. So she
Absolutely.
can provide a technical update as to the status of the project to remove the monument.
Thank
So,
you, Dr. Wilson.
Ms. Valerie, would you mind? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is where we are with the monument. The draft has been submitted to the legal department for review, along with documents to Mr. Padilla. Hope I didn't mispronounce his name, the consultant and engineering firm that'll be working with us to provide any additional documentations and drawings that will need to be added to the RFP. Once we receive that information back and review all the specifications, we will be able to advertise for the RFP sometime at the beginning of January, depending on the timelines when we'll get the additional information needed. If there are some other specific questions that anyone would like to ask me as it relates to the monument, let me know. But the project itself will take about 45 days from bid advertisement to awarding of the bid for us to finalize this project. Are there any specific questions you guys have for me?
Okay.
Val, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
That time frame, you said when would be the estimated time frame that it would actually get moved?
I'm waiting on some additional documentation from the consultant that's working with us. And they had some staffing issues with some of their staff members were ill. So they've been a little bit delayed. And when we advertise for the bid, we cannot advertise during any type of holiday period. So that will completely block out December, because we advertise with Caddo Citizen and the Shreveport Sun, and their bids come out, their advertisement comes out on Thursdays, which are holidays. So it will not be until sometime January that I'm looking into submitting the RFP once we receive the information from the consultant.
Okay. Val, I got a couple of people with some questions on the line. VP Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Valerie, I got one question or a couple of questions for you. So you're saying that we've got the information from the consultant and you're ready to send it, and you're sending the draft over to legal right now, right?
No, I've submitted my draft to legal. We are waiting on the information from the consultant. And I know
and
the legal department.
This information is
on that. I'm sorry.
Okay, this information from the consultant is basically what?
This would consist of
general
additional drawings of the monument that we need to provide to the bidders of how the monument is currently situated, how it would need to be disassembled and reassembled, and any other photographs that would need to be part of the document for transmittal and removal of the monument. And Donna or Henry May can speak to that time frame with the consultant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so once you get the drawings, go ahead, Donna.
This is Donna. I think I stated Tuesday that we were working to finalize that. I was able to get some information immediately before the holiday, and I hope to have it reviewed and into the packet shortly. So I don't anticipate that there will be any delays after the start of January.
Okay, so once you get the information from the consultant, the drawings, and the information you got from purchasing, then the bid packages go out to the contractors.
Yes,
at that time, how long does the bid stay open?
The bid will be advertised for 25 consecutive days, and we'll advertise it for 3 weeks according to public bid law. We'll move from that to our mandatory pre-bid conference that will be after the 25 days of advertisement. It'll be mandatory. It will probably be via Zoom, along with purchasing, the public works team, as well as our consultant. There's a Q&A time where the vendors can submit questions as it relates to the RFP. We have to give them time for that, and an addendum that will need to go out. So after the 25, 30 days, then we have a proposal evaluation time frame that we have to submit all the proposals to our evaluating team to review. After the evaluations, then we would go into the negotiation phase to award the bid. That takes about 45 days to award the RFP. I'm sorry, not the bid.
So you got a 25-day period, and then you got another 45 days after that?
Well, that's in addition to the whole process. The 25 is included in the 45 days.
Okay, now that sounds a whole lot better. So
Yeah, it's not like 60
basically you
days.
got a 25-day. Okay, basically you got a 25-day process, and then another 20 days to close in all the loose gaps and
Correct.
actually start on the project.
Correct. Award the bid,
to
and
award the
then we'll
project.
do a pre-construction meeting with the awardee to sit down with them to go over specifics with it, have a pre-construction meeting.
Okay, so in this bid process and awarding, do we put a timeline on that contractor to get it moved once they're awarded the contract?
Yes, and that's part of the RFP. The proposal will have to provide to us their timelines, how long it would take.
Okay, we don't set a timeline for them?
That's not in my expertise. That may be something that I could speak with the consultant or facilities and maintenance about, that once it's awarded, when it starts, they may have to get a forklift and things to move it. So that's not my expertise, but I have noted that so that we can make sure that it is addressed in the RFP as well as the pre-bid conference.
Okay, that'll be enough for this meeting. I'll hit y'all over something else next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, VP. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Ms. Jameson, for being here. I wonder if I could ask a different question about the monument. There's an item on our agenda today to adorn the 4 surfaces of the partition around the monument with some text. And I just wondered if anybody, maybe Dr. Wilson or you, have an idea of the cost that will be. I've had some comments from constituents sort of griping about how much we spent on the box in the first place. So I just wondered. Thank you.
I would have to direct that to administration. I'm not aware of any additional work or graphics or anything with the existing covering that we have. Remember, that's a temporary site, so that's not a permanent thing. So, I mean, based on just what you said, trying to invest more money in something that's just kind of temporary, that we will be taking down sometime in February. But I have not been asked to look into any type of pricing for any additional work, but just be mindful that that is a temporary structure for the monument.
Yeah, Commissioner Young, this is still a work in progress as it relates to the costs. We haven't been able to make contact with the artist yet, who was suggested in the last meeting that we can expedite the work. So that's still an ongoing process. We hope to have that done pretty soon and get back with you. I'll email everybody on what that proposed cost would be. But we don't have it today, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Young, for that question. Thank you, Valerie, for coming on. I see no other commissioners on the board in regards to this topic. So we'll move to the next agenda item. Mr. Everson.
Okay, let's see. That brings us to public hearing on zoning ordinances and cases, which we have none scheduled today. So we'll move on to public hearing on ordinances. We have 2 today. Our first is public hearing on ordinance number 6019 of 2020. We also have a public hearing on ordinance number 6020 of 2020. 6019 is an ordinance authorizing the use of the budgeted emergency aid funds in the Reserve Trust Fund for the year 2020 to provide emergency aid of $500 to 500 families affected by COVID-19 and to otherwise provide with respect thereto, from Commissioner Gage Watts. And then the second item that is for public hearing today is ordinance number 6020 of 2020. It's an ordinance to amend Article 6 of Chapter 32 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo relative to regulation of noise, to prohibit use of engine brakes on Jefferson Page Road, to provide for the penalty for violating said prohibition, and otherwise provide with respect thereto from Commissioner Epperson.
Thank you, Mr. Everson. I'll go ahead and declare these public hearings open so that anybody that wants to call in will do that, and we'll allow them, if you'd like to speak either for or against 619 or 620 of 2020, call in now. We'll place you on hold as we allow any other citizens to speak either for or against. What's that phone number, Mr. Everson?
That phone number is 226-6596. Again, that's 318-226-6596. And just for the record, we have not received any electronic, comments on these items either.
Gotcha. At least for today, we did receive some for the work session on Monday. I know in regards to the Jake break.
Correct. You had 3 that were in support of the Jake break ordinance, which is ordinance number 6020. Those are included in your minutes that you'll see later on. They're in the work session minutes.
Anybody calling in, Mr. Everson?
We have no callers on the line.
Okay. Then I will declare this opportunity closed for public hearing on ordinance numbers 6019 and 6020 of 2020.
All right, that brings us zoning ordinances for final passes, of which we have none today. And that brings us then to ordinances for final passage. Our first one of the ordinances is ordinance number 6019 of 2020. It's the ordinance authorizing the use of budgeted emergency aid funds in the Reserve Trust Fund for the year 2020 to provide emergency aid of $500 to 500 families affected by COVID-19 and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So move.
Got a motion to accept by Commissioner Watts.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Cawthorn. Commissioner Watts, would you like to speak on this motion?
I'm going to yield at this time.
Okay. Waiting for any other commissioners to get on the board. I see none.
Don't see anyone on the board to speak.
No, ma'am.
Okay, if no one wants to speak, I think that I spoke on it when we first introduced it, Mr. President. So I was waiting to see if anyone else had any questions or anything.
Yeah, Commissioner Watts, Vice President just rose his hand, and then Commissioner
Okay,
Young.
thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
I can go after Commissioner Young.
Okay,
I can
go
after
ahead,
Commissioner
Young.
Thank you, Mr. President and Mr. Vice President, for letting me go first. When we first talked about this, there were a bunch of questions that try to answer about how we would find the individuals who were going to receive the money, how we would make sure that they were qualified, and then how we would sort of trace their spending afterward. And I remember that Attorney Frazier said that we would have a legal obligation to sort of supervise how some of the spending went. And I wonder if we've answered those questions and if the legal concerns that she raised are settled now, and just sort of I wanted to sort of get an update from the people who've been working most actively on this, and also from legal about whether we're ready to go ahead with this and write checks, or whether it still needs more thought and preparation. Thank you.
Okay.
This is Donna Frazier. I did look further into that, and cash loans or payments are permissible as long as you can verify that the person is low income. However, I do think that there could be potential challenges. I just don't know at this time how those would be addressed. If they would be successful, I guess, depending on whether or not you could track how that money was spent. But as far as the legalities of issuing the money in the first place, there's not a problem.
Okay, and so then I guess my other question is just maybe not for legal, but for Commissioner Gage Watts or other people who've been thinking about this more than I have, which is have we figured out how we're going to give away the money if we vote to give it away, and how we would keep track of it, and how we'll verify who's low income? I remember that the goal was to target people who hadn't received much help before for being low income because they were sort of right above a threshold. And I wonder if that, does that confound any of our requirements for low income recipients?
Yes, Mr. President, if I may.
Absolutely. Thank you, Arthur.
Yes, Commissioner John Paul Young, those are still the requirements for the citizens to be able to prove what their needs are for the financial strain, whether it's job loss, or if they're on unpaid leave because of COVID-19, family situation, facing evictions, or, and have not received any related assistance. Catholic Charities, of course, does a lot of work with people who needs assistance, people who are receiving only $37 a week for unemployment, which we know that is quickly dissolving. They don't have any funds to help most people. And the little, let me say, the tiny amount that they do have is not applicable for most citizens. So it can't help them. They would be a perfect conduit to help us, to help these citizens during this difficult time. And I know that they will make sure that it is placed properly in the right hands.
And so are we gonna also supervise? Are we gonna follow up with them to maybe audit or just observe how the funds are distributed and to whom? And I suppose maybe the issue of whether or what they spend the money on is no longer a legal issue if the recipients are in a certain low income category.
Yes, because the information that I've discovered and what I've gotten from my research is that a lot of the citizens who come in to receive assistance is that they have to have like a cutoff notice, and it has, or a 5-day eviction letter to even receive assistance. So they have to have some type of need from the beginning before they even go into these agencies. So they will definitely have proof of who has received the assistance and how, that they can give it to us. I know that when we've done things in the past with the tornado victims, they were not able to verbatim, state the names. It's a way that it can be done to us privately of who received what, but we can get that information.
Hey, Commissioner Watson. I didn't want to interrupt, but I got a text message that a caller was on for the public hearing, and Mr. Everson wanted to know if we wanted to allow her to speak. She said she was having trouble getting through. Since we already passed that agenda item, I wanted to see if any commissioners had an issue with that, and if not, we would allow her to speak.
I don't think, I'm sure that because it's closed, I don't think that you can allow her to speak at this time, according to Robert's Rule of Order.
Right, that's why I was asking if anybody had an issue with it, we would decline the call, but if everybody was okay with it, I would allow it. But I wanted to ask your permission first.
Did a comment about this topic?
Mr. Everson, is it a public hearings about this talk? Well, it's either this one or the Jake break.
You know what? She must have been listening. I think she just hung up. So
okay. Okay. Well, thanks, guys. I wanted to follow the procedure, so I wanted to ask for permission on that. Mr. Everson texted me on it, so we'll continue. Commissioner Young, you still have the floor.
Yeah, and I know that there are a lot of questions that that we could probably just really go back and forth with about it, but I think, and I know, not let me say that I think, but we're facing another shutdown soon. And as I've said, it's imperative that we get the help to these citizens now. It is freezing. People are hungry, and we can help them with this minute amount of funding. And there's no time for no, there's no time for wait. It's a true disaster. And to watch those who are hurting, we have the power to be the difference now. So I know that we can do this. There are so many other states that have already implemented allocations for their citizens to provide them this type of assistance. Some have done it 3 times by now, and this is our very first one-time only allocations for our citizens. So again, I'm just asking for the support to move this forward and provide this assistance for our citizens.
So thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. I just wanted to say, like,
I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
me? Can you hear me now?
Paul, I think your speaker went out. Your microphone may be covered or something. It's kind of going in and out.
Maybe if I turn off my video, it will work better. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So a couple of commissioners have told me perhaps it's not the government's role to give this kind of direct assistance. And a couple have, like Commissioner Gage Watts, have told me that, or have said, you know, this is something that's extremely important as a stopgap to help people who are in desperate need during an emergency. It seems to me that we have an emergency fund that's for emergencies, and when we have an emergency, we should certainly consider using that fund. I think we certainly have an emergency now. This is, as on a personal note, like the pandemic has not affected me very negatively personally, but so it could be easy for me to ignore that we have a fund that we share with others who are in need, and that we could do so responsibly. But it's harder for me to ignore that because at the beginning of every single meeting, we are praying and praying and praying and praying at this Caddo Commission. And half the time, the person who is leading the invocation says, "Help us to be more mindful, O Lord, of those less fortunate than ourselves." Yes. And I think that Commissioner Gage Watts has given us the opportunity, perhaps as an instrument of God, to be more mindful and act on it of those less fortunate than ourselves. So if we vote on this, I will vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. I have LBJ. I had you on the board, but you wanted to yield for Commissioner Young. Would you like to speak now, or would you like to leave you on the board?
Yeah, I can speak now.
Okay.
And you know, everyone knows that I do a lot of research, especially when it comes to spending money. And so what Commissioner Gage Watts is proposing to do is not the only, we won't be the only parish in the world doing this. Just going down the road over in Harris County again, it looked like Harris County is leading the way on innovation of how to take care of their people. Harris County basically gave away $1,200 per family to 33,333 families. That would equal out to roughly $40 million. We're only talking about $250,000, $500 for 500 families, but they took care of 33,333 families with $1,200. They already have established a criteria. The criteria are basically a pandemic hardship, basically verifying that you need the money because you have some unpaid bills. That money could go to housing, it could go to food, it could go utilities, healthcare, childcare, or any other urgent need. They went through an application process that was verified, and for them to be eligible, then they got the money. So it wasn't like you walk up to the place and say, "I need $500. I heard Commissioner Gage propose this, and they voted on it. I want my $500." It's not that simple. It's a process. It's an application. They fill out. They have to verify things, and once it's verified, then they will be eligible to get the money. Harris County started theirs early in the year, and they just awarded their money November the 2nd through the 6th. The application process was a 2-day process. Once they hit their target number, they cut it off. And once they gave out the money, they cut it off. That's just how it is, first come, first serve. So basically, it's not nothing new. The process has already been established. All we got to do is call over to Harris County. Hey, what did y'all do? Let us see the application process, make the changes that we need to make to it per Caddo Parish, and follow the process. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President. Commissioner Burrell.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'll just make mine short. We're a long ways out of, from the end of this this situation with this virus. And to even deny anyone, if we can help one person, it would be great. I think sometimes we don't recognize how fortunate we are. And when people are not only losing lives, they're losing their livelihood. If there are money and resources there that we can share with them, that is part of our responsibility as public servants, not politicians, but public servants. And that makes a difference. So from my perspective, even if it helps 200 or 10, it doesn't matter. It's the situation out there is dire. Maybe you don't know of any. Check with some of us. We know of people who are in desperate need of monies and resources for rent, for food, for medicine. Is there. So I'm a fiscal conservative. If you want to put a label on it, I guard the taxpayers' money. Been doing it for 20 years. But when there's a epidemic out there that we don't have our hands around, and we're not getting as much federal support right now, they're still playing games in Washington. So it's part of our responsibility to do what we can. So that's my take. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Epperson, you're next.
Yes, we basically already had something in place. We've done this with the flooding. You remember the Red River flooding we came in? Caddo Community Action Agency was the conduit through it. That's basically their forte, is dealing with poor and the indigent. And there are so many cases that they get through because of the funds that they get from the federal government are not there. They do water bill assistance. They do other utility assistance. They do rental payment and mortgage assistance. We also work in conjunction with the Red Cross. So I'm pretty sure with the Catholic Charities, the Red Cross, any community nonprofit organization that's here for the poor, the needy, and the indigent, will send the people through us, and we have the process that's already in place, plain and simple. And as I close, Mr. Young, I've been down here a long time, and I've said that sometime I listen to all these prayers and the invocations, and this, that, and other, and then you turn around and you snatch something from the poor's mouth. You know what I mean? That's blooming hypocrisy to me. People call themselves evangelicals or Christians or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So as I close, I would like to leave you with a scripture that hit me. I had written a letter to NACO, and they published it. We over 3,000 some counties there. It published nationwide. It was about the same situation. And I ended that letter with Deuteronomy 24th chapter, 14th and 15th verse. So all of you Christians,
and
coming
Jews, because
into
that's in the
this
Old Testament.
season, coming into this season, of celebrating the birth of Christ, whom we know his mission here, what his philosophy is, and what we profess to be. Let's think about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Always be with them.
Guys, I got my hand up. I want to make a substitute motion or an addendum. I think Stormy and I talked about this, the motion just to add the administrator as the Christian Services or Goodwill to administer this program, if I can get a second.
Second.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Young. I spoke with Commissioner Watts on this for the entity. If this did pass, who would administer it? And we agreed Christian Services was a good outfit as well as Goodwill. Thank you for that second, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Cawthorn, I saw your hand up there. I didn't know if you want to speak on this or if you wanted to speak on this.
I want to speak on this.
Okay.
Good afternoon, fellow commissioners. I fundamentally feel that unprecedented times call for unprecedented measures. So we find ourselves in 2020 with a pandemic like none seen before since 100 years ago, the Spanish emphysema from 1918 to 1920. So having said that, what Commissioner Gates-Watts is proposing, I think fits that uniqueness and that need to have that overarching theme of how do we help the least among us. Secondly, I know there was some commissioners chimed in earlier and said that it is not the job of the government to give out direct payments. My memory serves me correctly, in March, the United States government sent millions of Americans a check for $1,200 to each household in the month of March, under the most conservative, fiscal conservative Senate leader we've ever had. So I think that sets the precedence for the nature of what we're dealing with. What I also wanted to offer, and I think Commissioner Chavez had kind of stole my thunder, I wanted to recommend that in terms of the management and distribution of these funds, that we use 3 organizations and divide the money up equally, with those organizations being Catholic Charities, who does an excellent background in distributing money for people in hardships, Caddo Parish, Community Action Agency, who has worked with us over the years with our relief efforts, and Christian Services. I know Christian Services personally because 3 years ago, I chaired the board of Christian Services for 2 years. Those are all 3 able, local, germane organizations to this community that on a regular basis retrofit the need of needy people and have the infrastructure and the facility to do such. So I don't know if that's necessarily a substitute motion, but I do want to put that out there for consideration. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Cawthorn. I see nobody else's hand on the board. Did anybody else?
Was that a motion? If there was a motion, I'll second that one.
All right, so I will put that in the form of a motion.
For the motion, Commissioner Cawthorn, I heard 2 entities, but you mentioned 3. I heard
so Catholic Charity Services, Christian Services, and Caddo Community Action Agency.
Right.
Okay. And then we had a second on that. So, Mr. Everson, we'll have 3 votes. We'll have the vote for Commissioner Cawthorn's, then for myself, then for Commissioner Watts.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir, Commissioner Atkins.
I just want to make sure everybody voting on these issues understands exactly what we're voting on. Are we voting to accept the wording of a substitute motion and simultaneously pass that motion, or are we just working on wording right now and then we'll come back for a final passage or not passage?
We're working on wording. Commissioner Cawthorn offered 3 different entities to manage. I offered 2. And then after we either vote up or down the 3 or the 2, then we vote on the original.
But this is just wording.
Commissioner, this is a point of order from legal. Actually, your 2 substitute motions, if one of those is passed, you won't get to the original. And the motion addresses, I believe, the organizations that will manage. So it is the management and the passage of the funds.
Okay.
The only difference in the motions is who will manage.
So each vote, just to be clear, Ms. Frazier, each vote, we're voting on the wording and the passage of the ordinance.
Correct.
Okay.
Got it. Okay. Mr. Everson, if all the commissioners are understood, we'll go ahead and vote. Roll call.
I got my hand.
I'm sorry,
Got my
I don't
hand, Mr.
understand.
Chairman.
I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Commissioner Everson, go ahead.
I just want to correct my scripture. It's Deuteronomy, the 24th chapter, 14th and 15th verse.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Can I ask real quickly, just to know what we're voting on first? But before, but without only knowing that one, I'd like to know what we're voting on second, because it seems like if we're picking among maybe five organizations to give it to, like it would be important to know whether like the first vote excludes other organizations.
Sure. The first vote is going to be Commissioner Cawthorn's substitute, which would be the Catholic Charities, the Christian Services, and the Caddo Action Agency. And if we vote on that, and if that passes, that would be the administrating party administrating the 500 for 500. And if that fails,
let me offer this, Commissioner Chavez. Since the only organization that's left out of the loop is Goodwill, we can add Goodwill to my amendment, and then we just have to vote on that. Yeah. So instead of having 3 organizations, we'll have 4. And you can divide the money for each one of those organizations into 4.
Because it doesn't matter who does it. Yes, I thank you. Yes, that works. I'll second that.
So we have another point of clarification.
No, let's, Commissioner Cawthorn, if that was a friendly amendment,
you don't need it.
I'll decline because it does matter to me who administers this. So if we want, we could just keep the original motions and just vote.
I think you all have reached your limit on substitutes as well.
We'll just vote. Okay. We'll just vote on it as it stands. We have 2 substitutes and original motion.
2 substitutes.
Mr.
I just have one clarification. Is there only one that, Mr. President, there's only one organization that you would like to serve as a proxy for this funding?
There's 2 entities that reside in Caddo that I would deem that I would like to see do it if it was going to pass. But we can just continue.
Okay, Goodwill and Christian Services, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Point of clarification, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Brill.
I'm confused as hell now on this. Are we saying here with Commissioner Cawthorn's is that he amended his, I guess, for lack of a better word, to have 4, which would include yours, but you're saying that you still would only want 2.
Ultimately, Commissioner Brill, I'd ultimately want 1 because at the end of the day, I think it would muddy the waters to split the money up 4 ways and force them to communicate with each other to administer this program. So realistically, I'd love to see just 1. So my substitute motion was more so to pick between the 2 that I offered, one of those be the administrator. But it almost sounds like the waters are so muddy now that I think we should just vote on it, either the 3, the 2, and the original motion.
So that is not 4. You did not accept.
Correct.
Commissioner
Correct.
Cawthorn. Okay, so we have 3, 2,
yes,
and
sir.
Whatever. Okay, thank you.
This is legal. If I may make a suggestion, would you have the clerk read the 3 motions in the order that they would be considered?
Absolutely.
I will be glad to. Okay, so the second substitute motion is what we would vote on first, and that would be to adopt the ordinance number 6019 and allow Catholic Charities, Christian Services, and Caddo Community Action Agency to administer that program. That's the first vote that would be taken. If that vote if that is adopted, if that passes, then we don't vote on the other two. If that fails, then we go to a motion to adopt ordinance 6019 and have Christian Services or Goodwill administer the program. Again, if that passes, that's our final vote on this subject. If it fails, we go back to the original motion, which is to adopt ordinance 6019, but does not make reference to who would administer the program.
Thank you, Mr. Everson.
How
Mr.
would
Chair,
you
as a
decide
point
who
of principle,
administers it then?
That would be at the discretion of the parish. Yes, sir, Commissioner Cawthorn, you got a point of
as a
clarification.
point of personal privilege, I want to also throw this out. We don't know which organization will accept or will not accept. So we need to also bear that in mind. And also whether or not we're going to be paying them an administrative fee to do such. So I just want to throw it out there.
That's all good points. I would love to see this in a committee, but we're lined up to vote. Let's bring Mr. Everson.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Hold on. My hand up.
I still see
Mine up too.
I have a point of clarification from a statement that President made. President, so you made, this is a point of clarification first. So you made the point that you would rather have one of yours to do it as opposed to the two that you mentioned. And then Commissioner Cawthorn basically had 2 to 4, 2 extra ones that he had brought in. So as a point of clarification, would you be okay if it was Christian Services and Catholic Charities?
I would have to do some more research on the Catholic Charities, only because I've researched a couple local entities that administer aid to the community and how they do it. I haven't looked up the other one to give you a good answer right now, VP.
Okay. I just asked just to try to simplify things.
I got you. Commissioner Epperson, I see your hand up.
How many votes does it take to pass an ordinance?
It takes 7, Commissioner Epperson.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. I show no one else on the board. Mr. Everson, roll call vote, please.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro.
No.
Commissioner Atkins.
No.
Commissioner Chavez.
No.
Commissioner Lazarus.
No.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, I believe that motion fails with 6 in support and, well, let's see, and 6 in opposition, and I'm sorry, 2 absent.
6.
I'm sorry, that motion carries, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it carries. I'm sorry, I circled the wrong, as I was tallying my votes, I circled the wrong column on a couple of things.
Mr. Clerk, there were 6 yes votes. There were
6
4
yes, 4 nay, and 2 absent.
and it takes 7 to carry an ordinance. So that vote did not pass.
Okay.
Could you restate them again? Because I thought it was 7.
The yay votes that I have are Johnson, Young, Burrell, Cawthorn, Gage Watts, and Epperson. And the nay votes that I have are Taliaferro, Atkins, Chavez, and Lazarus. And the absent votes were Hopkins and Jackson.
Okay.
Thank y'all. Sometimes in these roll calls, it does get a little harder to hear who did what. But okay, that brings us to the substitute motion, Commissioner Chavez's substitute motion, which is to have the programs administered by Christian Services or Goodwill. And this also adopts the program. So this, let's see, Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro.
No.
Commissioner Atkins.
No.
Commissioner Chavez.
No.
Commissioner Lazarus,
No.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, that's the same breakdown. That motion fails with 6, 4, and 2. 6 in support, 4 in opposition, and 2 absent. And that brings us back to the original ordinance from Commissioner Gage Watts to adopt ordinance number 6019. And are we ready for the roll call there?
Yes, please.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Costa,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
No.
Commissioner Atkins,
No.
Commissioner Chavez,
No.
Commissioner Lazarus,
No.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, there we have the same breakdown of votes. That's 6 in support, 4 in opposition, and 2 absent. The motion does not carry. And that brings us to the next item, which is ordinance number 6020 of 2020. It's ordinance to amend Article 6 of Chapter 32 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo relative to regulation of noise to prohibit use of engine brakes on Jefferson Page Road, to provide for the penalty for violating said prohibition and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move for adoption.
Second by the chair.
Second.
Commissioner Epperson, you want to speak on that motion?
No, sir.
Could somebody
Okay.
clarify who the second was?
I seconded.
Seconded it.
We can give that to Commissioner Lazarus. He's got to deal with the Jake Bakes in his area.
Okay.
I see no one else on the board. Mr. Everson, roll call vote, please.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Johnson, I didn't hear you if you. Okay. Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell. Is Commissioner Burrell on the line? Yeah, Commissioner Burrell, I can't hear you if you responded.
I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. I have with 9 in support, none in opposition, and 3 absent, unless I heard that wrong. And
Sounds right.
okay, great. Thank y'all for the confirmation there. That brings us now to zoning ordinances, of which we have none today for introduction by title. So we'll move on to the next section, which is local assessment ordinances for introduction by title. This is to introduce a local assessment ordinance number 61 of 2020. It's an ordinance accepting improvements and paving of Winder Drive, Winder Circle West, Winder Circle East, and Cashmere Circle being located on Fredola's Place and Windermere Estates subdivisions, Phase 1, Unit 2, Phase 2, and Unit number 4, all located in Section 25, Township 17, North, Range 15 West of Caddo Parish, Louisiana, and providing for the assessment of all abutting real estate in the amounts respectively due, and providing for the imposition of liens and privileges in favor of the parish of Caddo, and providing for the terms of payment, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto in District 7.
Mr. Watt?
That motion is,
It's not a motion right now.
no, it's not, it's just for introduction by title, so we just read it in. But I was just gonna call to your attention, it is attached there as a PDF if you guys want to review it. And that brings us to our next section, which is just ordinances for introduction by title. We have none today. So we'll move on to work session minutes. We have the work session minutes from our November 30th, 2020 meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Atkins, second by Commissioner Epperson. Anyone want to decline that? If not, that passes by acclamation.
Okay, and then that brings us to resolutions. Our first resolution is resolution number 74 of 2020. It's a resolution urging and requesting the Louisiana State Legislature to authorize use of ballot boxes and to extend the early voting period and otherwise providing with respect thereto, from Commissioner Gage Watts.
So moved.
Second.
All right, got a motion by Commissioner Watts to adopt, a second by Commissioner Everson. Commissioner Watts, you want to speak on this motion?
This is the same resolution that I presented a couple weeks ago to provide additional tools for extending dates and installing ballot boxes at the early voting locations.
All right, let's see. I see no one else on the board. Mr. Everson, roll call vote, please.
All right, Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner
Yes.
Jack. Oh, great.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I dropped my phone. Dropped on that last one on the jet brakes. That's a yes too.
Oh, got it. Great. Thank you very much for that clarification. Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
No.
Commissioner Atkins,
No.
Commissioner Chavez,
No.
Commissioner Lazarus,
No.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, I have that as 6, 4, and 2, and as a resolution that carries. And that brings us to resolution 76, a resolution providing for canvassing the returns and declaring the results of the special election held in Caddo Parish, Louisiana on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020, to authorize the renewal of special taxes therein.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I may have misstated. I'm juggling too many papers. Let's see, resolution 74 was a 642. And let's see, that is a simple majority.
That's 76. The canvassing. Resolution number 76.
I think he's recounting Commissioner Epperson on that 74 because that's
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing today, so I just wanted to make sure that I had counted that vote correctly.
Yes, sir. There were 6 yes votes on that, and it's a resolution, so it passes with 6 votes.
That was correct. Okay, great. Thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure I had that vote count correct. Now we are on resolution 76, and I'm sorry if there was a motion made, I did not hear it.
There was. It was by Commissioner Epperson, seconded by the chair.
Thank you.
Commissioner Everson, you want to speak on that motion?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Everson, roll call vote, please.
All right, Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent.
At this time, can I make a point of clarification?
Yes.
Commissioners, the charter requires that ordinances and resolutions have to pass by a majority of the favorable vote of the majority of the commission, which is 7 votes.
Okay, sorry.
And resolutions have to pass by 7 votes.
Okay.
A point of clarification. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Commissioner Burrell.
given the fact that I'm in a learning process too, is there anything that just goes by a majority that we pass?
Simple motions can go by a majority.
Simple motion. As long as it's not a resolution or ordinance, that's what I'm understanding, or something different.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Donna, for the clarification.
Okay, and let's see. Thank you. That brings us to resolution number 77 of 2020. And that's a resolution urging and requesting the Louisiana legislature to redesignate a portion of Louisiana Highway 173 as the Coach Carl Pearson Memorial Highway.
So
And
moved by the chair.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Burrell. Commissioners, we heard from Commissioner Jackson on this, the author, on Monday. Obviously, it was a great endeavor. I see Commissioner Epperson on the board. Commissioner Epperson, go ahead.
Just wanted to state I had asked, had Mr. Pearson been a veteran, want to emphasize maybe to the new commissioners that we did pass an ordinance designating special signage for veterans on parish roads, I know. And they were, red, white, and blue instead of the bland green or the brown. So that's why I want to know, was Mr. Pearson a veteran? Thank you.
Commissioner, or sorry, not Commissioner, but Mr. Everson, did a couple other commissioners Monday want to get added to this legislation? Is this the one that passed?
No, that was the special proclamation that we had.
Got it. Okay. I wanted to make sure that we didn't leave them off if they wanted to be on here.
Yeah, no,
I see no one else on the
several
board.
people requested to be added as co-sponsors, and that was done.
Perfect. Okay. See no one else on the board. Roll call vote, please.
All right, Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, and that motion carries with 10 in support, 0 in opposition, and 2 absent. That brings us to resolution number 78 of 2020. It's a resolution urging urging Governor John Bell Edwards administration, Division of Administration, and LPJA to review and revise the process for federal funds distribution for future COVID-19 relief and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So moved.
Second.
So moved by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Cawthorn. Commissioner Burrell, you wanted to speak on that?
No, no, yes, I guess I can say something. I just think it's important. I didn't realize that we were so, how would you say, unfairly treated by the state in terms of the initiative that we undertook, getting out ahead of everybody else, trying to provide needed resources to our community, and then we were not reimbursed for it. So I think this is an important piece of legislation to be sent to the state and to get an answer on top of that. Many times you send it, sometimes they may not answer, but I think it's important that we should know. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. I fully agree with you. Commissioner Young?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to note that this is a resolution that's directing another government to do something at our request. Can you hear me? I just wanted to note that this is a resolution directing another government to do something at our request. And sometimes we say that that's not our job, and sometimes we vote for it anyway. And so I think maybe this principle is flexible, and I'll vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Show no one else on the board. Mr. Everson, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Johnson? Are you still on?
I show him dropped off.
I see him there, but I see his logo, but I don't hear him. Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Gage Watts. Is she still on the line? Let's see, Commissioner Taliaferro. Commissioner
You're muted.
Taliaferro.
You're muted, Jim.
Sorry about that. Yes, I'll go along with it.
Okay, Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, I am, and Commissioner Johnson, did you cast a vote? I didn't hear it. See, it looks like he's logged on again, but
That's it right now. LBJ, you there?
I'm going to mark him as absent for now. The motion carries. I have 8 in support and 4 absent, none in opposition is what I have down. If that is incorrect, somebody let me know and I will be glad to revise it accordingly. And then that brings us to Resolution 79 of 2020, a resolution approving the proposed 2021 budgets of the North Louisiana Criminalistics Laboratory Commission.
So moved. I
Second.
got motion. I'm sorry. I got a hand up by Commissioner Atkins. Commissioner Atkins.
I'm fine for you to have your motion and second, but I do have some questions on this matter.
Yes.
I should have addressed them during the work session, but it wasn't until afterwards that I noticed that this budget is $1 million over budget. The 2020 budget was $1 million over. The 2021 proposed budget is $1 million over. Their reserves go from 3.3 million to $3.3 million currently to 1.2 million at the end of 2021. And that leads me to ask Dr. Wilson, Dr. Wilson, what happens when they run out of reserves? Do they then come to us and ask us to cover their deficit, or will they then?
No, sir, they don't.
They have no recourse. They have no recourse to come to us and by mandate have us cover their gap.
I don't believe we do.
Well, I would suggest that someone speak to them about their cost structure and encourage them to get their cost structure in line.
Okay.
Because they are rapidly burning through their reserves, and they need to be keeping that. They need to be planning for that and adjusting their budget accordingly. But that being said, I have no. If we have no dog in this fight, I'll vote to approve it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Commissioner Atkins in the last 18 years has been administrator. We never gave them any money for any shortfalls whatsoever.
Did they have a much larger reserve and they've just been working through the reserve for 18 years, or has their cost structure or revenue gotten out of whack?
Yeah, I'm not sure. And I think this is also a regional operation as well.
Yes. Yes. That is more. It's more than just Caddo Parish.
Regional.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to just casually approve their budget without pointing the fact out that they are way out of line and need to take some action, or they're going to have a problem in a few years. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. We'll make contact with that.
Point of information.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Brown. You and then Commissioner Epperson.
Just for my own edification, again, we're saying that they just have to come before us for approval. We do not necessarily control their budget or inject into their budget or anything of that nature. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Epperson.
This directed to Ms. Frazier. Ms. Frazier, then, if we don't have a dog in this hunt, why are we bothered with this issue?
Like the library board, sir, it's a pass through. We approve their budget. There's a parish tax, but we don't exercise any control over their funds whatsoever.
Perhaps it's just an oversight function, like we're doing here, Commissioner Epperson.
Yeah, and the BFR same way. Just a flow through.
I believe that also additionally, if for some reason, I guess that they ran out of funds and you needed to pay for something related to the court, for something that they didn't have the funds to do, it may arise on that end, but it's not a mandate, if that makes any sense.
Not a mandate that we provide funds, and not a mandate that we have to deal with just to pass through budget.
Right. It's not a mandate that you provide funding directly to the laboratory.
And the reason that we hear this is because there's a tax that fund them.
There's a tax that funds them, and because they serve all of the different parishes or in the region, they have to send evidence in connection with court cases to be processed. So if they did run out of funding, then there may be costs connected with what you have to pay to the different agencies to get items tested, but it's not something that would go directly to the crime lab.
Okay, what about like indigent defenders, if they be running short of money?
The indigent defenders are actually run by the state, and their funding is done with a formula that's statutory formula that's within state statute.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. It sounds like we're definitely the oversight committee just to verify that everything's in order. And I applaud you, Commissioner Atkins, for being that oversight. They won't receive a bill for that free CPA service, but they will receive some recommendations. We'll go ahead and vote on this to approve it. Mr. Everson?
Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson.
No.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young.
No.
Commissioner Burrell.
No.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
No.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
No.
Commissioner Tyler Farrow.
I'm sorry, point of clarification again. Exactly what are we voting on again?
Approving resolution 79.
Which was the budget approval for the crime lab, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
No.
Commissioner Chavez.
No.
Commissioner Lazarus.
No.
And Commissioner Epperson.
No.
Okay, that motion fails with 1 in support, 2 absent, and let's see, 9 in opposition.
Thank you.
Point of clarification, Mr. President.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Burrell.
Given that we've taken this vote, what is the consequences from there? What do we mean? Are we mandated again to approve it or not?
Mr. Burrell. Attorney Frazier, you want to speak on that?
Commissioner, it's not to my knowledge that you are mandated to approve their budget other than just as an oversight function. To my knowledge, this will not stop them from going forward with that same budget.
Okay, well, I think that's important. Commissioner Atkins did bring up a good point. Not knowing what the reduction is would leave some question as to how they're managing. But there's a lot of circumstances involved around this crime lab. I know I spent 8 years trying to keep it in the budget just to get it built. So I know that this is a very sort of complex. So maybe we do need to ask a couple of questions about that reduction. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. I show no one else on the board. Mr. Everson, I'm assuming that this vote will get recorded and mailed to them so they can acknowledge and perhaps correct their deficiencies.
We will, and we'll reach out to the entity that shared it with us and let them know, about the discussion today as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Everson. Moving along.
All right, that brings us to old business. We have no old business on the agenda for today, so our next item is new business. where our first item of consideration is 23.1. It's the appointment to the Metropolitan Planning Commission, authorizing the appointment of the Metropolitan Planning Commission due to notification that Mrs. Nancy Cooper no longer wishes to be reappointed. This term would be through 12/4/26. And the two options that have, the two nominations that have been made so far are Rudy Morton by Commissioner Burrell and Mr. Jim Malsh by Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. Everson. I have John Atkins on the board. Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to speak on behalf of Jim Malsh. But before doing so, let me say that I reviewed Mr. Morton's resume as well. He's certainly a man of service and contribution, and we appreciate his interest in potentially serving here as well. But Mr. Malsh would be my preferred candidate. He comes highly recommended by the business community and the construction community. He, as indicated by Ms. Liz Swain's well-written letter that was read in the public comment section, he has raised a technology company here in Shreveport Bossier from 2 people to 50 people. He sold that company, but instead of taking his gains and heading to the beach, he has chosen to reinvest in our community. He's served on a number of nonprofit boards, including COHAB, SciPort, Caddo Career and Technology Center Foundation, Shreveport House Concerts, and Sanctuary Art Studio. He has invested in invested in a historic building downtown. If you all passed by it on Crockett Street, you've seen that it's been stripped to basically the bones of the structure, and then rebuilding it and investing considerable dollars downtown to provide a venue for other small businesses to participate. He's also very active in the entrepreneurial side of our community, investing in numerous smaller startup companies. I'm trying to find my list. I remember, I think Red River Brewing. Here we go. Red River Brew Pub is one. Shreveport Music Company, Sky Coach, Whisk Dessert Bar, Bilby, and Andrus Art and Entrepreneur Center. So Mr. Malsh has been a wonderful business person, but also a wonderful citizen, and he understands that delicate interface between zoning and business and property ownership. And I just think he would be a really good fit for this role, and I appreciate him for being willing to serve. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very excited to recommend or nominate Rudy Morton. Rudy Morton, for over the last 25 years, has been involved in neighborhood redevelopment and revitalization, as well as economic development. I don't know if anybody, regardless if they have 1,000 businesses or not, have been more involved in trying to change the legislation here in the city through his work as a legislative aide and through other work that he's done in terms of nonprofit. He's the type of a person who understands this city, probably every neighborhood. He's done tremendous research on different cities to help craft legislation to make it easier for businesses to start up. I only asked him to do a 1-page synopsis. I could have brought the other 5 pages with me, but I didn't think that it would be, apropos to do that at this point, just inundate you with more information. Many of you probably know Mr. Morton from various organizations that he's been associated with. He has a very technical background. He's dealt with, as I said, economic development. He spent the last 20 years in working with young people to teach them how to become entrepreneurs of the 21st century. So from that perspective, I know the MPC itself, its responsibility is to help determine land use. And if there's nobody that knows the community in terms of how land can be used. It is Mr. Morton. So again, I highly bring him to you as a recommendation. He's a person who's on the ground level that understands these issues. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Young?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to speak about Mr. Malsh. I've met Mr. Malsh once. I have not met Mr. Morton. The reason that I think that Mr. Malsh would be the better candidate for right now for membership on the MPC board is that the MPC is an entity that regulates businesses, and Mr. Malsh is a business person who has been regulated through his businesses by the MPC, probably very repeatedly, and in a way that would give him insight in ways that the MPC could improve in their customer service toward the private sector and facilitate increased business activity in our region. I think there is no greater qualification that is needed right now for helping to negotiate what Mr. Atkins called the delicate interface between zoning and private enterprise. So I hope that we can appoint Mr. Malsh to the board, and I would be very pleased to consider Mr. Morton at our next available appointment. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. I have no one else on the board. Mr. Everson will call for the vote. We'll take one person. Commissioners, you vote yes if you'd like that person. We'll vote for the next person, and then vote yes if you'd like that person. So just vote one person.
Okay, are we ready to vote?
Yes.
And we'll take the candidates in order. Is that's
right?
Okay, so Mr. Rudy Morton is the first candidate listed.
Should it not be alphabetical order?
No.
That's customary to do what they normally do, what they go about the way they do stay.
Yes.
The rules they go.
We can vote to if somebody wants to make a motion. If not, we can just go by the order of the agenda. It's either way. If you know which person you're going to vote for, just don't vote for the one that you did not want.
Okay, so
I see no motion, Mr. Everson. We'll just vote in order.
Okay, so we're gonna.
I'll second Commissioner
Did
Burrell.
you need a motion?
No,
we don't.
You don't need a motion, just vote.
We've got it. Yeah, we'll just do it standard. Okay. Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson.
Which name? Because y'all got me confused.
This is Rudy Morton.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson. Are you on, Commissioner Jackson? Thought I saw him.
What are we voting on? Where we at?
This is the MPC nomination to consider adding Rudy Morton to the MPC board.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes. He's muted. Yes.
I heard a yes. Great.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro. Commissioner Taliaferro, I believe you're muted. Commissioner Taliaferro, I still haven't heard your vote, but it looks like you're unmuted.
Remember, we're not supposed to say anything if we're not voting for this person.
No, you would just vote no, I believe.
No, he don't say nothing.
Oh, okay, got it.
I didn't vote no.
I thought you did. I thought I heard you. I'm sorry. Commissioner Atkins, Commissioner Chavez, Commissioner Lazarus, Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 votes in support of Rudy. And then let's see so then we'll take the second candidate and the one who gets more votes. So let's see.
It's over with. It's over with.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
only-
I mean,
it's
do I need to
only
go through
11.
the other one for record?
No.
Okay, then Rudy Morton is the appointee to the MPC. And that brings us to 23.
Thank you, commissioners.
That brings us to 23.2. That's the end of the year appointments.
Mr. Chairman, let me just make a comment on that issue before we leave it, please.
Go ahead, Commissioner Atkins.
I respect the fact that Mr. Morton has won the majority of the votes here. I will respectfully ask my colleagues to strongly consider Mr. Malsh if he is renominated at a future date. I think we can all agree he's a very qualified candidate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Mr. Everson?
We are at the end of the year appointments. That is the next item on your agenda. And I believe for these, we consider a motion for adoption.
Motion to
Move for
vote
adoption.
and adopt.
Was that motion by Commissioner Epperson?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
And I heard
All right.
I heard Lazarus as the second. Is that correct?
Yes,
Sure.
I got Lazarus as a second. All right, Commissioner Everson, you want to speak on that motion?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Everson, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
I'm sorry. Where are we now?
We're on the end of the year appointments for the slate.
Okay. Yeah. I guess we vote yes for everybody, or what?
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
So was your vote a yay vote?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what I heard. Thank you. Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Gage Watts, I didn't hear you. If you are on the line. I see she's on the line, but not hearing her. Commissioner Tyler Farrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. That motion carries with, looks like 10 in support and 2 absent is what I have, unless somebody spoke up a vote that I didn't hear. And that brings us to 23.3. It's an action item directing the administration to add historical text to the temporary walls surrounding the Confederate monument. And there is, the administration is to add displays of the following historical text to the temporary walls surrounding the Confederate monument. Those documents that were listed are the Gettysburg Address, the Pledge of Allegiance, the Star Spangled Banner, God Bless America, the Bill of Rights, and Lift Every Voice and Sing, also known as the Black National Anthem. And that is from—
Move for adoption.
Second.
Second.
Got a motion to adopt by Commissioner Epperson, second by Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Epperson, you want to speak on this?
Yes, sir. I think the administration is quite clear as to what direction to head on relative to this motion. And I would ask that we go ahead and vote. Personally, I got a 5:30 meeting coming up again on teleconference. Thank you.
We'll move it quickly. Commissioner Young?
Point of clarification, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Jackson.
Will you please, I don't know where that came from, but would y'all please strike the Black National Anthem? The name of the song is called Lift Every Voice and Sing by James Weldon Johnson.
Absolutely.
I don't know who added the Black National Anthem in there.
Mr. Everson, can you strike that from the record when you're typing the minutes?
Be glad to.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Young?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say briefly that this structure is about to come down. The monument is about to be moved, and I think the less we touch it, the better. I don't think that we should decorate it further. I think we should let it go away. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Burrell?
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have some, not concern, but about the fact that it will be up temporary. But I think until then, we don't have to spend a whole lot of money on it. I mean, banners are not that expensive. I think it's important that that we do add some education to what we are dealing with here, because it has been a source of concern and hurt for a lot of people. It's been a source of pride for others. So by further educating our community, I never see anything wrong with that. There was one comment that was made that was a little disturbing at the work session last time. Somebody called in, and when the last anthem was put up, Lift Every Voice and Sing, there was a comment that was made by the public, and I'm always listening to what the public, how they perceive what we do. And they made the statement that we should not, I'll paraphrase it, that we should not enter race or color into this situation. I beg to differ, because race has always been a part of this, and it's been a very hurtful situation. And what I did after last work session, I'm just doing this for your own edification. I went back and did some research in terms of controversy around this particular project, and learned, when you start talking about whether we are, and this is for the benefit of the public and the person who called, when she said that we shouldn't inject race, all of these other Commissioner Carlton iconographics that we are dealing with here, they were actually done, the songs and the Bill of Rights, all that was done prior to the end of slavery. So that meant that the Negro was not included or even considered at that time. So if we want to talk about race entering it, I think Commissioner Epperson, because of his pride in this nation, and as he represented to fight for us as a nation, that if anybody would have concern about race being entered into this project, it would be him, from the standpoint that all of the things that he named was actually developed, documented, and written before slavery. So from that perspective, I think that we are doing a just cause for America, because we're bringing everybody and putting a little bit of everybody's history in this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. I agree with you. I too did a little bit of research on this. I don't know why it was considered the Black National Anthem. I actually don't even know why it's referenced as the Black National Anthem. I'm going to vote no on this, not because it's divisive in any nature. I like what Commissioner Epperson put forward, and I agree with you. I applaud him for fighting for this country and wanting to put these on here. I went and read that Lift Every Voice, and it's great. It's just refers to people living under God and working hard and raising their kids. It's good. Nothing divisive about it. The only reason that now, with the additional information that we have from the beginning of this meeting that states that the monument may come down in February, I don't necessarily know if I want us to spend money to maybe only have it up for 2 weeks. I would like to see Commissioner Epperson's goal, maybe painted on a nice mural somewhere downtown on a building or a bridge or something that we own, that can be enjoyed for a lot longer than maybe 2 weeks. So I'll vote no for this, but every single one of these items, if it comes back up and we want to put it on something else more permanent, I'm all about it. I just don't want to spend the money for maybe only 2 weeks.
Another point of information, Mr. Chairman, since we're educating each other. I know people don't talk about it, but even our national anthem, and I've sang it from the time that I was in school, and knowing what the national anthem is, the one that is so controversial these days because of Kaepernick. if you would go and do your own research and look at the stanzas in our national anthem, if you go to the third stanza and read that stanza, it is a message that's in that song that talks about actually the death to slaves. And if we were going to be controversial, I think that we would bring these issues out, but that wasn't the intent of Commissioner Epperson.
Correct.
His was based on healing this nation, not dividing this nation. So as a part of your education, I would ask each one of you as commissioners to go and actually read, if you can't sing, the third stanza, and even the fourth stanza. The reason being, if you do your homework, you'll find that Francis Scott Key was an attorney, and he actually prosecuted abolitionists during that time, the person who wrote it. So I can understand that. I can understand it from that perspective at that time. But we've learned better. And
Yes.
The Bible said if you learn better, you should do better. And that's where I am, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrow. You're right. I cannot sing, so I will go read that.
Yes.
Thank you for the advice. Commissioner Atkins and then Commissioner Cawthorn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I supported Commissioner Epperson's original motion, but after learning from administration that the monument may only be there for a couple more months, I think it's not prudent to make that sort of investment at this time of time, effort, or money. So I'd prefer to just leave it as it is. The flag certainly suffice for this short period of time. So for those reasons, I'll be voting no on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Commissioner Cawthorn.
Thank you. I don't want to belabor the point, but in the age in which we live in, with all the misinformation that we're receiving, I think we just need to have context to lift their voice and sing the Black National Anthem. You guys may know or may not know, there are 6 de facto national anthems for America. It's the Star Spangled Banner, America the Beautiful, God Bless America, America, My Country, Tears of Thee, This Land Is Your Land. All of those are represented as national anthems for various reasons. But the lyrics, and they're always written as poems, represent the struggle of America from its citizens in overcoming. Lift Every Voice and Sing the National Black, which is coined as the National Black Anthem, was written by James Weldon Johnson in 1900. And the music was put to it in 1905 to celebrate the 40th commemoration of the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. The reason why it's been targeted as the National Black Anthem for very obvious reason, African-American man, two African-American men, one wrote it, one put the lyrics to it. But if you listen to the lyrics and you see the tenor of the song and the poem, it's as American as the other 5 that I have named. And I want to further say that we as Americans are a cornucopia of expressions of coming out of difficult situations with praising the songs and the songs of America. So in as much as an African-American man may have written a song and put music to it, this song is as American as the other 5 that I have named. And I just think in 2020, when things like this come up, we need to put context to it. And in all of our getting, we need to get some understanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cawthorn. And seriously, thank you for that education. I had no idea. It was never explained like that. And when I did the research and I read it, I said, why do people have a problem with this? It sounds great. So I think it's good that we can talk at the Horseshoe and educate each other. Maybe by us coming together and educating each other, it'll help spread out to some more into the community. It's what people need to see more of.
Absolutely.
I see no one on the board. Mr. Everson, we'll do a roll call vote on this.
Hey, Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson.
Yes. Mr. President, I was on the board.
I'm sorry, Mr. Everson. He called in via the phone, so he doesn't have the capabilities. Please let's allow Commissioner Jackson to speak.
Yeah,
I was just going to say very briefly, because I got to jump off real quick, but I was going to say is my understanding was that we were not going to be paying somebody, that we would at least consider putting out a artist call to local artists who wanted to do it as a freelance service, or those who were interested in freelancing their services through SHRAC. And so I don't know how the cost came into play. What I would suggest is that when we do take the border down, because it's eventually going to come down and we're going to have to do something with it, that we give them the opportunity, instead of just tossing it wherever, we make good use of it, because to be honest, it will have been a part of history. And so let's utilize our local artist community who are willing to be a part of it and do it for free. So that's just my suggestion. I don't know how this vote's going to go today, but whatever we do when we revisit this issue, let's consider utilizing SHRAC or the Black Arts Coalition, whoever. I just know that there are artists who are willing to donate their services to do this. Thank you.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Mr. Everson?
Okay, we're actually at Commissioner Jackson for the vote.
Yes, I think I'm voting yes.
And then Commissioner Young.
No.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro.
No.
Commissioner Atkins.
No.
Commissioner Chavez.
No.
Commissioner Lazarus.
No.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, I have 6 in support, and then I have 5 in opposition.
That passes. Simple motion.
Great. Did I count that correctly? I think I did. Yes, so that passes.
Yeah.
Okay, and that brings us to communiques and committee reports.
All right, commissioners, if you'd like to get on the board.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Watts.
I would like a personal privilege.
Absolutely, Stormy.
I would like to make a motion to reconsider ordinance number 6019 of 2020.
A second.
All right, we got a motion on the floor. And I apologize, Stormy, I don't, is parliamentarian, is it the prevailing side or the winning side or the losing side that can re-add that motion?
Winning
Prevailing
side.
side.
Prevailing side.
Okay.
To be
So
decided with
Stormy's
the
on the
most
losing
votes.
side, so Commissioner Watts is on the losing side, so she can't nominate.
Okay.
It was 6-5.
She's on the prevailing side.
We're on the prevailing side.
She's on the prevailing side.
Well, maybe I should back up.
I think the Attorney Frazier just spoke, and
6-5.
we're on the prevailing side.
Actually, whoever lost the vote is not the one that can bring the motion to reconsider. The prevailing side is the side with the most votes. So the vote, or did it not get 7 votes?
Well, this is the weird thing, Attorney Frazier, because it's an ordinance, it took the 7 votes. It didn't actually pass, but Stormy is on the side of the more votes.
Okay, then that side had the most votes. So yes, they can bring it up.
That's the prevailing side, isn't it?
That's the prevailing side. They can bring it up.
Okay. Got a motion on the floor from Commissioner Watts, seconded by, I didn't catch who that second was.
Commissioner Epperson.
Epperson.
Okay.
I have no discussion.
Point of clarification.
Vote.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Jackson.
What are we voting on?
I think Commissioner Watts, she wants to do a reconsider for, what was that, Stormy, 6019?
It's a motion to reconsider 6019 of 2020.
That's the resolution for the legislation for the $500 for 500 households.
So I'm just trying to figure out how do we get to a motion to reconsider when the prevailing side, if it was the prevailing side, there would be no need for a motion to reconsider.
As an ordinance, it needs a majority of the full commission and
Needed seven.
had a majority of the members present, but
But what
not.
I'm saying is, but point of clarity, if the motion failed, and so the prevailing side was those that where the motion ended up carrying, and the motion did not carry, and so the prevailing side are the nays.
That's what I saw.
The prevailing side is the side that always has the most votes.
No,
Well,
the prevailing side is not the side with the most votes. If you have to get to a certain number, you're not the prevailing side.
I think prevailing means
number.
Attorney Frazier, prevailing means winning or most votes.
That's the fair definition of winning.
Yeah, it's
If prevailing means 7 votes, how could we ever reconsider anything? Because then it's
Absolutely.
I just don't think legally we can reconsider if you didn't have 7 votes.
I agree with Commissioner Jackson.
yeah. I don't.
What does our parish
Find
attorney
ourselves
say?
in a lawsuit.
What does our parish attorney say?
Here we go. The parish attorney says prevailing side means the affirmative if the motion passed and the negative side if the motion failed. A person is said to have voted on the prevailing side if that member voted yes on a motion that passed or no on a motion that failed. So the no would be the prevailing side in this situation.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, parliamentarian. Thank you, Attorney Frazier. This was obviously quite confusing.
I just don't want us to be in court, Mr. Prayer. I just don't want us to end up in court. That's all.
No, I appreciate that.
Won't be the first time.
Yeah, that's true too.
And it certainly won't be the last time.
Well, you know,
Commissioner
some things
White,
are important.
you're on. We'll have
Next order of business.
Yes.
So we
Under
are communicating now.
Who would like to get on the communicators?
I'm on.
Okay,
Still on.
go ahead.
Since that personal privilege failed, I just want to say that I'm very disappointed on the results of this ordinance. I understand what it means for people to have this assistance during this very difficult time. As I've stated before, facing a shutdown, COVID-19 has caused us to have some very unfortunate situations. I'm very disturbed by the excuses that I've heard today, that we have the available funds and we've said no. I have not heard from one commissioner where citizens can go to receive these funds. Where are resources available? I know that before the meeting, I talked with President Chavez and you said that you had researched all of these available entities that had available funds, but I haven't been able to find any. I think that the citizens of Caddo Parish deserve to know exactly where they can go if they need medication, if they are facing evictions, if they need something, if it's food in their mouth. I think that they deserve to know what can they do now, because this was providing some type of hope. This was not going to be something for everyone because we've never been able to help everyone, but this could help someone. It could be the difference. And while we're waiting, and it will be back, but while we're waiting, there's going to be someone who will never benefit from this. So while you're snugly in your homes and you're not worried about the freezing temperatures, there's somebody who will be sleeping on another cardboard box because we did not take the opportunity to do more, to do what we could do to assist the citizens in Caddo Parish. I'm very disturbed that we spent a lot of time discussing on which entities would be the proxy for these appropriations just to vote it down. For a person who's receiving $37 a week in unemployment, and I'm sure some of you spend $37 on an egg, and you can say no to people like that. The Bible tells us that the poor will always be with us. And it is our responsibility. I've heard nothing but excuses of what citizens are going to do with the money, if it's Christmas presents or, but what if it's for gas money? What if it is for that mother who is working 2 jobs, who has 2 children in drug court, that's just trying to make ends meet? My Bible tells me that so a man thinketh, so is he. There are good people who just need a hand up and not just a hand out. And it's just not about my heart. It's the right thing to do. Caddo is always behind instead of ahead of the curve. It was stated on this call that other states, other parishes has been providing these type of assistances with fundings much higher than what we were offering. But this was a start. $500 may not mean nothing to you, but it means everything to someone else. So I hope that as you're sitting around your Christmas tree, sipping hot apple cider, that you think about those who wish they even had a tree to look at, because it was in your hands to make a difference.
Mr. Chairman, is communicating?
We're still on here, Commissioner Jackson. I didn't want to interrupt Commissioner Watson unless she was done. Commissioner Watts, does that conclude your comment?
That will suffice for now. I'm just going to conclude this with saying that today, I made a decision to come back to work for the people. I have not said a lot about this publicly because that has been my choice. I lost my brother to COVID this week, but my brother had a heart for the homeless people. Today was about him making a difference in somebody else's life. Because I've asked people not to provide a flower for me, not to do anything for our family, but to give to the homeless shelters because somebody is in need. This legislation has gained statewide attention because the need is so great. And you voted it down. For what reason? Or you didn't get on the call. For what reason? Because it wasn't your idea? You may mention that it could go to committee, but it was never even introduced as an alternate? Shameful is what it is. And I hope that the citizens of Caddo Parish wear you out about it. And I'm done.
Thank you, Commissioner Watts. Attorney Fraser, I see your hand up. Did you need to make a point of information?
Commissioner, it's if you get back to me at the end of the communiques, that would be fine. I just wanted to give a point of clarification about something else that was on your agenda earlier.
Absolutely. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't need to know something from the legal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Fraser. Mr. Everson, do you have that image that I sent you earlier that I wanted you to put on screen?
I do, one sec.
Okay. I do applaud Commissioner Watts for putting this agenda item on here. There is a need. However, in trying to identify the need, one thing, and I told Commissioner Watts today, with the loss of her brother, I did not want to call her and burden her with information. But after she pushed me in a good way to go out there and try to figure out where are people hurting, what is the need, I had to sit back from an honest perspective and say, first off, let's see what are the core basis on humans and what do we need, and let's address those. Because if we're not addressing the needs, just giving people the money isn't going to help. We need to solve problems. Looking at Maslow's hierarchy, which basically states from the basic level what a human needs: first physical security, and then upwards as they are taken care of. The first needs within our citizens in Caddo Parish, I looked at the need for, obviously air and water is free, but food, rest, and health. What I wanted to look at is I called a lot of different local entities here to see how can we address those needs, or is there already entities here doing that? Like I said, I applaud Stormy for wanting to do the $500, but if we put it in the hands of people that don't necessarily need it, then I think it's going to be a waste of the money, and we need to identify who actually needs it. So in doing my research on how do we address the physical needs of the people in Caddo Parish, I stumbled across a lot of different information. It's extremely good information. The food bank, for instance, if we'll take food first off, the food bank's phone number, 318-675-2400. They'll direct you to a local food pantry here in Caddo Parish that will give you 75 pounds of food per month. No questions asked. You can show up once a month and get a box of food, 75 pounds of food, so we can address the food issue. They will also ask you if you're set up for the SNAP program. That's the EBT program through the state. If you're not, they will help you apply for the program to get you on SNAP and get that money every month for food. So on top of a box of 75 pounds of food, you will also get an EBT card with food, with money on there to go to the store to get the money. Again, that number is 318-675-2400. Also, if anybody walks into a Goodwill, they'll be able to sign them up for SNAP as well. So Goodwill is out there ready to help you. Christian Services, they feed individuals 2 daily meals every single day for anyone who comes down there. They're on Levy Street. They don't ask any questions. You can show up twice a day to get food. It doesn't matter if you show up in a Mercedes, on a bicycle, on foot. They will hand you 2 hot meals a day. The only day out of the year that they are not open to feed is on Christmas. That's the only day that they're not serving. But they do it every other day of the year for free, no questions asked. The Hope House also provides meals to homeless individuals. The Council on Aging provides senior meals. The Caddo school system has a grab-and-go meal food available for kids when they are out of school, and they utilize the backpack program. Moving on the other physical needs of human beings besides food is rest. I looked at, okay, we want to look for shelter, for rent. The Caddo Community Action Agency, they help with rent. They get the money through the Caddo budget, through LIH HEAP. They have FEMA money, the LE Foundation for Veterans, Catholic Charities, the Salvation Army. They handle the crisis fund for SWEPCO, the VOA, again for veterans, the Philadelphia Center, the Providence House, via the City of Shreveport Rapid Rehousing, the Louisiana Corporation, and UWNWLA. Those are all locations, local entities here that can help you with rent assistance for you to take care of your shelter. In regards to your health, and I talked to Commissioner Jackson on this one, David Rains, he used to work there. It's not a free clinic. They don't turn people away for inability to pay, but he said it's a full-scale primary care facility. Obviously, for veterans, they go to the VA. I go to the VA. You don't have to pay any money, but the MLK Health Center or clinic on Jordan Street is more of the free clinic. That's the place to go to for that. All right, moving on up the ladder of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you're moving on to security, which is safety, shelter, stability. Went and talked to the people at Goodwill. They said, we at Goodwill believe that there's a better way. Why we don't incentivize going to work if there is for people out of work affected by COVID, or they said, why don't we incentivize going to work if this is for people out of work and affected by COVID? Because obviously this piece of legislation, the 5 for 500, it's for the impacted people of COVID. A lot of them obviously were impacted because of loss of jobs. Goodwill's entire program is to try to get people back to work, trying to get them to go to work. These individuals were all employed before, so they are employable. There's plenty of jobs out there. Unfortunately, many of the individuals lack some of the skills they need to obtain these jobs. But there's many in the service industry that are available right now. One of the biggest benefits that has come from COVID is employees are being paid more than minimum wage right now because employers are fighting for employees. The other thing that most people do not know right now is the LWC and the one-stop centers are all closed to the public. Because this temporary agency, Goodwill is the only game in town right now to help individuals find employment and work with clients. And we are the only ones helping employers by doing weekly job fairs, hiring events, interviewing, pre-screening. Goodwill said they have done 61 since COVID began in March, touching more than 500 individuals, and while everyone else has been closed. They said, why not reconsider rewarding them $500 given to you if you get a job and work more than 30 days, or pay the same type of training now that will help get a better job, i.e. a ServSafe, forklift, etc. Those are really cheap right now due to colleges having their own COVID money. It's called Reboot. They said they could also work with those individuals at Goodwill by providing the case management they need to track the employment, which they do anyway, and the training. And they also have the financial empowerment centers at each location that for people that live within the city of Shreveport that can be mandated to get some financial guidance. And then lastly, they said as recent as yesterday, there is a movement in Congress to pass another COVID stimulus package. This will give people $300 a week more in additional unemployment benefits. Again, this means they could earn up to $571 a week with nearly $30,000 a year. That's some really good information. We can go up the ladder on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Wanted to put this information out. I've been thinking about this, guys, for like 2 years. How do we get a localized central location where the citizens can go on and get the needs that they need right now? How do they find out information? I actually took it upon myself to register a URL called caddoconnect.com and caddoconnect.org. Already registered them, already paid for them. They're working. What I was wanting to do was get a hyper local database to push this information. A lot of you guys don't know this, but Commissioner Jackson's been working behind the scenes with a company to do exactly that. That's a national company. It's called Unite Us. So what I did is if you go to caddoconnect.org or .com, you will get forwarded to Unite Us. And from that website, you will be able to dial down into the guidance information of the help that you need specific for your location, for your situation. I think this is the best way to help the citizens in Caddo Parish by giving them the power and the information for them to help themselves. It's all online, it's all untapeable, and we have all the people local ready to help them. I think this is a far better solution than just appropriating some money. Again, I applaud Stormy for doing this. She's a Christian, just like myself. It is Christmas time. We want to help as many people as we can. I think by doing it this route, we're far better off on penetrating more people and getting the help that they need into the communities than doing it the other way of just appropriating the funds. So again, I applaud Stormy for doing that, but this is what I would rather like to see. And that's the reason why I wanted this to go to a committee so that we could address it and dial down. But obviously we didn't have the votes for that today. Commissioner Atkins, I have you next on the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to remind our colleagues here and others that may be on the call that the commission has been very supportive of our community since the beginning of the coronavirus. And I think, to my knowledge, we've supported almost every initiative that's come onto our agenda. But so eventually we have to say no. And when we do, I would hope that those of us that do say no would be that our decisions would be respected and not vilified. I did not support this ordinance, and I know that makes me sound that I'm cold or uncaring, but that's not the case. I think that we should support all of these needs. We as a community should support these needs. We all should help, but we should help, in my view, we should help individually. I don't view this as a role of the Caddo Parish Commission to choose 5 families to support with other people's taxpayer dollar. So again, I think we should be supportive of these individuals and these families that are in need. I think we should all reach into our pockets and give to, I'll just say all of the reputable nonprofit organizations that exist in our community. So let's all give, but it's just a function of how we give, and some people see it as appropriate to give through the commission, through taxpayer dollars. In my particular case, I think it's more effective for individuals to be able to choose how they want to support people and to choose their own channels for supporting those people. So it's really a matter of, I think we have the same end goal in mind, but it's a matter of what channels we use to obtain those benefits. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Next I have Young, then Burrell, LBJ, and Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know that many of us on the commission are activists in our community and support charitable purposes privately, which I think is great. I think we all have a calling to be more mindful, as we often pray to do, to be more mindful of the less fortunate. That is not to say necessarily that the government needs to be the agency through which we need to be more mindful, but Commissioner Gage Watts raised this as an option, and I think that the fact that we have a dedicated fund for emergency uses suggests that we should consider strongly, very strongly, proposals like Commissioner Taliaferro's support for rebates on taxes for small businesses that are locally owned, for support for families that are in need, whom, you know, we don't particularly, who we can't normally identify through our normal practices. I want to make an amendment to our budget tomorrow to help fund a program to teach children how to grow food, which is the third most important item on Commissioner Chavez's cited Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I hope everyone will be able to support that, which is a moderate amount of money. And I hope that we will put our heads together and talk more than we do now, because I think like this conversation demonstrates very clearly that we haven't discussed this enough before voting on it, about how we can help citizens who need help with the public funds that are dedicated for that purpose in emergencies. Private citizens, everyday citizens, cannot disperse those funds. Only the 12 of us can disperse those funds. It is therefore necessary for us to consider how we can use those funds most effectively and not just sit on them if there are good, even if imperfect, options for using them for the public benefit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since we're going into this holiday season and having to deal with a crisis, I'm not one of those that care for you to cry after my speeches. It is to drum home that we have a responsibility to the people that we serve. Based on political philosophy, according to where you stand, some people feel that government shouldn't have a role in trying to help the least of us. I've been in this business 20 years, and there is a thought pattern that somehow government is there for business, and then business take care of the people. I disagree. I think government is an entity that collects all of the taxes and the money that they use, that we use for their operation and for their benefit and for the public's benefit. But sometimes the public benefit involves helping people themselves. I don't know if any one of you have been in a food line or had an opportunity to be in a food line. Many people would rather starve than to go out there and let other people know the condition that they're in. And a lot of these conditions had absolutely, well, very little to do with them. It had to do with us, people who make policy. And because of that, sometimes we have a tendency to be quite insensitive toward their needs unless we are one of them. And where we stand, many times we are not one of them. I just, I've dealt with these agencies that we place money in and they get money. They don't find employment overnight. Sometimes it takes 1 to 3 months. A person could be starved by then. We are in this situation because we have a pandemic. Many of these people that we are talking about helping were employed. They don't need to go back and get retrained. They just need a job. And they just need an opportunity for that business to open up. But until we get this COVID down, we have an emergency situation. And we should consider it as such. This is a temporary assistance. As I understand, it's not a long-term assistance. That's another point. This legislation is not designed for, I keep hearing people talk about these homeless programs. We're not talking about homeless people. Some of these people may have a $300,000 home, but they can't pay their rent. They can't pay their medicine. And they're not just those people that you perceive to be poor, minority, or whatever you want to say. Because see, I'm very straightforward with what I see because I've lived it. So I'm not throwing this heap on you as a burden on you, but just to enlighten you that what we're talking about here is a temporary situation and we're trying to help as many people as possible. It's good if these agencies can help, but they don't do it overnight. I can assure you. You sit there and fill out one of those 5 or 10 page resumes, I would say, that these agencies try to get some support. You'll get discouraged and go back home and rather just drink water and eat bread. So the last thing I'm going to say is something that I always think about during this time, but I do all year round because I do try to help people. Because it's one of Jesus's, what I consider his personal commandments, not part of the 10 commandments, but his own personal commandment and his commitment to people. He said, what you do to the least of my brethren, you do also to me. And I'll leave it on that note. And I would like all of us to think about that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Vice President Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I heard some different things today, and I kind of want to put some perspective to some of this. I know you mentioned quite a few organizations and how that they could help citizens, and they do quite a bit of that. But if we put all those citizens that don't know about those programs or are just getting laid off into all those programs, those same organizations will be coming to us for emergency funding. They will say that they need help from the influx of citizens that came to them because of basically the commission sending everybody to and that's one way you want to look at it. That's a way to get the money out to people. That's fine and dandy. Some of those programs you mentioned, you can go to them once in a 6-month time frame, but then you got to wait 6 more months before you can go back to them. When you look at 70 pounds of food, depending on how many people in the household, if you got 4 or 5 people in the household, 70 pounds of food won't last a month. It probably won't even last a good week, depending on how you prepare the food. And if you got growing teenagers, it won't last. Utility assistance, a lot of organizations will help you with utility assistance, but as soon as it get cut off, then you can't get assistance. And if you're juggling money, paycheck to paycheck, or if you thought your paycheck was going to be something and you got shorted out because you couldn't go to work because a child was sick, you got to make that decision on what's going to be cut off and what's going to stay on. And you heard during our other meeting that they're now starting to evict people from their residence. So there's a lot of things and a lot of stress points that are going on with the citizens of Caddo Parish. And, you know, when people get into desperate modes, they do desperate things. So you think crime is up now, look at crime to be even higher. We talk about the needs and all of that, but if I can remember, some of my colleagues, I voted against it every time, and some of the times it was 1 to 11 about that park that's downtown, or right on the edge of downtown. It was supposed to be called Caddo Common. Then it was, well, we didn't say that, but Caddo Common Park. What has it brought economic value to the citizen? What has it brought quality of life value to the citizen? It haven't, and it won't. I mean, it's just, the property is just too small for that to happen. But majority of the commissioners supported giving it the money. Now it's time that people need the money, and we don't want to do that. Now, if dogs and cats needed some money for something, it would be on board to give dogs and cats some money to do whatever they need to do. We got to start thinking about our people that are less fortunate than us. If you would go and do an undercover boss on some of them organizations that you just talked about, go in under the skies and try to get funding, see how frustrating it is to get funding sometimes. Sitting as a commissioner, you'll get all the right answers, everything will be cut right through, and you'll move straight through the line. But as a person down on their luck, and maybe someone who frequents the same organization, you're going to get a lot of static. Or if you come in there, don't fill out something the right way, you will get a lot of static. A lot of times we look at things from our point of life and upward. But think about our point of life and downward. I mean, some people don't even have internet. Some people don't even have TVs. You got to look at what we consider our basics and what are considered their basics. And by far, our basics are much higher than theirs. And you can't discount those folks. You got to be in their shoes. If you walk in their shoes for a day, you'll be surprised. You know, and if you come from very humble beginnings, you will understand. It's just the fact that we sit here and make these decisions, and people don't fully understand the need that's out there because, one, you don't never see them. Some districts are not set up so that you'll see them. Some of our commissioners haven't went through every part of their district. And if you have, some of your districts are not poor. I got some people in District 2 that have not left their community for nothing. Nothing at all. They shop in their community. They go to church in their community. They go to the store in their community. School, nothing. They have stayed in that same neighborhood all of their life. I could not believe it. But they have not left that area. No means of transportation, nothing. They have not left that area. So you got to think about people like that. That's not homeless, but they just barely making ends meet on what they have. So they work in the community, they go to church, they shop, same community, don't leave it. Think about those people. Think about the people who are just getting laid off that had a job, but now they can't get a job. And then to go from a job making $40,000 to $60,000 to now being a service, which you say, yeah, there's plenty of service jobs out there, but they make $2.25, $2.50 an hour. And you got to hustle for tips. Well, guess what? Most people are not sitting in restaurants and eating. They're getting it curbside or they're getting it to go. Well, do you tip that way? A lot of people don't. So just think about the whole the whole circle and not just bits and pieces that you want to digest, but think about the whole circle. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, VP. Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let me just say that I have not been able to participate in a lot of this call today. I want to remind folks exactly who I am. The E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund, Attorney Bernstein took me 4 times to get past this commission body. John Atkins will tell you, I call him every day about it. I sat with certain commissioners at the Waffle House until 2 o'clock in the morning, convincing them that we need to do something about affordable housing before we successfully got that passed and established, and made all types of compromises. Took it back to committee, in and out of committee. Some people never understood what we were doing or were trying to do. But after the 4th time, it got through. Let me remind you who I am. Since we're getting personal on the call. April 12th, 2018, Christian Shumpert Hospital. A week before, we had a tornado come through and hit Queensboro. And former Commissioner Gerald Bowman asked me if I would help him organize a meeting at New Elizabeth Baptist Church. Little did I know, April 12th, an emergency hernia procedure would go wrong. And sitting in the hospital room, I would hear my mother for the last time say, "Baby, I know you told me you had something to do tonight. So if you got to go on. I understand. The doctors and the Lord are going to take care of this. I know you told me you had something to do. I'm going to be all right." And I go sit with the folks in Queensboro who were trying to rebuild their lives. And it was the last time I spoke to my mother or heard her voice. She never would come out of a coma after that. So don't sit here and tell me or try to make it seem like that I have sold the poor, the downtrodden down the river. I don't play that game. I was the first one in March saying we need to spend our money because people are hurting and suffering. On conference call after conference call after conference call. To his credit, Commissioner Len Carthon tried to put together a comprehensive plan to come down and say, let's do it all at one time, y'all. We rejected that. And he made compromise after compromise after compromise until he could get something through. So the comment that was made, some of y'all couldn't have didn't get on the phone, and you could have. You don't know what my situation is. I'm a young man trying to build a family, trying to build a career. I'm committed to the Caddo Parish Commission, but I'm not going to put it in front of some other thing. We have to find a balance in our life. And that's what I'm proud of myself in 2020, finding balance. There have been plenty of times when I have put other work and other things above myself and my well-being. There are times, and y'all know it, I'm late to get on the call. Sometimes I have to hop off early, but I give Caddo Parish Commission, I give Caddo Parish citizens every moment that I have Let me tell you who else I am. Last Thursday, this time, had to have my brother finish cooking my food because I had been up since 7 o'clock that morning, serving seniors who would have went without a meal that Thursday and that Friday. So you don't have to tell me that people are out there struggling. We had 6 drivers that did not show up. And I had to fill in for all 6 of those drivers. You don't have to tell me about being uncomfortable during the holidays, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to wake up Christmas morning with nothing under the tree. You don't have to tell me that. But don't play this game, because one thing didn't go your way. You get back up and you go at it again. And I made it clear in my comments on Monday that I may not be available on Thursday. So it shouldn't have come to it as a surprise. What we do down here are for people. But to make comments and to suggest that something nefarious was wrong. And John Atkins will tell you, if I don't agree with him, I let him know I don't agree with him. I would never falsely accuse him of doing something that I can't prove he didn't. He did. That's not what we do. That's not what we should be about. And I'm offended. I'm going to try to participate in the budget meeting tomorrow. But I'll be participating from the car because I'll be on the road. Some of us have to make extreme sacrifices to do what we do. Some of us have to be very uncomfortable to do what we do. But when I don't get my way, I come right back at it. And Dr. Wilson, Attorney Frazier, and Attorney Bernstein, they will tell you the faith building program didn't pass the first time. We went back and they put it in committee. I got a lot of programs and initiatives and things that I tried to do. They don't go their way the first time. I put it in committee. I compromise with people. I ask, how can I make this better? I don't take it and try to jam it down folks' throat. And then at some point, I just say, well, look, you can't get with this. I'm sorry. We got to go. And you either for it or you're not. But please, I would appreciate it if comments like those who could have gotten on the phone, but you didn't, that's not needed. It's offensive. Because if I don't do what I have to do, nobody around that horseshoe is going to come pay the mortgage. Nobody around that horseshoe is going to come pay the property tax. Nobody around the horseshoe is going to come feed me. So let's be mindful of some of the things and some of the accusations that we make. Just like I called out some of the political journalists out there, I got to call it out here today. When Commissioner Chavez emailed me today about David Raines, I had no idea he was trying to build a list. No idea at all. I just responded. I'm on a phone call trying to see how I can create better access to health care for poor and working people. My mother worked for 40 years. 40 years. And I know some people on this call can relate to it. 40 years and she never could afford health insurance. So I wake up every day putting 110% and making sure that people don't have to live like she lived. They don't have to sit and trade off paying a light bill for a prescription. And I wish we would be just as fervent about making sure that the CARES Act dollars that has been received, $4 million sitting over at community development right now, that ought to be going for rental assistance and ESG monies. I know it because the money came through Louisiana Housing Corporation. Ain't hitting the street because President Trump put a moratorium in place. So they said, we're just not going to do it. That's money that could be on the street right now. $13 million to the sheriff and 14, 15, 16, whatever million dollars to the city of Shreveport. But they sticking it in their budget reserves. I resent attempts to say that something nefarious was going on. I give you the time that I got. I'm going to give you the time that I got tomorrow. But I have never tried to dictate to anybody on this body what their time and their commitment ought to be, because I understand everybody's plight is different. Everybody's situation is different. And I don't appreciate somebody trying to impose their views up on me. With that, Mr. President, I yield my, I'm done.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. I don't show any other commissioners on the board. If anybody wanted to talk and you're not on there, wave your hand. If not, Mr. Everson will move along.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is our public comment flight arrivals. We've not received any electronically. Would you like me to go ahead and give that phone number out?
Yes, sir.
That number, should there be any callers, is 226-6596. Again, 318-226-6596 is the number to call for public comments.
Mr. Everson, I did receive an electronic comment from Mrs. Glover. She had told me earlier that she called in and the system hung up on her. She said the system hung up on me, so I couldn't make my comment. If you would share that the connection.
Mrs. Glover was the caller that was on the line. I'm not aware of this, how the system hung up. We'll have to look into that for her. But yes, she was the caller that we mentioned earlier.
I got you. She actually she sent me an email and asked me to read it in the citizen comments. It says, if you would share that the connection serves the entirety of, I think it's commission. The commission serves the entirety of the parish, and I am sure there are more than 500 families who are in need, and this would be a disservice to only provide for a few when there are many. 2, what guidelines does the recipient have to meet to qualify for this service? Thank you. That's the entirety of her comment. Anybody else call in, Mr. Everson?
I'm not seeing any right now. Michelle, do you have any callers? No, she has none on the line either. So.
Okay. All right. If no one's calling in, then we will we'll move to the next agenda item.
Next item is adjournment.
I got the motion by Commissioner Cawthorn, second by the chair.